What's up, Cricket Rockstar Nation? Welcome to another video. Hope you guys are all well and in very good health. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a feedback, and share with all of your family and friends so we can grow this page higher and higher. So without further ado, let's get on with the show. We're not fooling around, we have work, and then we have a lot of cricket to talk about, yeah. So here we go. How many of you all have seen the first Ashes Test match of the 2025-26 series between England and Australia? I'm still at a loss for words in how the match ended in less than 2 days. The last time a high-profile test finished in 2 days was the 2020-21 third Paytm test involving India and England at the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. And let me tell you something. That match ended in less than 2 days because it was spinners galore. It was an absolute massacre. If that was a massacre back then 4 years ago, 4 years later, the first Ashes Test unfortunately turned out to be an utter loss. Not just for the sport alone, but also for Cricket Australia. Why? Because apparently, according to an article on cricket.com/au and ESPN Cricket Info, according to the article, apparently CA lost millions of Aussie dollars, not just because of how the game ended in less than 2 days. And for this occasion, I'm not even blaming the Australian players for the match ending up inside 2 days, but all the blame must go to the visitors. And let me tell you something, this has to be the stupidest, aggressive English baseball piece of trash that the English selectors sent to Australia. And let me tell you all something, they do not know how to play differently rather than playing ultra aggressive. The only thing they like to do is whoop and get out, something we have seen from West Indies over the last decade or so. But I'm not here to talk about West Indies too, but I'm not here to talk about West Indies in any ways. Why I said that this English side is the worst Ashes team to come to Australia in all of these years, it's because of the stupid aggressive baseball piece of S. And excuse my language for this one because I have a lot of trash to say about England, but let me tell you why. I'm literally pissed at this visiting English side. Remember in the last video I made, I pointed out that Australia would sweep England 5-0, and not just that alone, we all know it's gonna happen. So watch out for the last 4 tests where Australia trash the Poms and send them to their crib, just like the song Back to the Crib. You know, but my mother, she don't know where we're going. Back to the crib, yeah. And not only Australia sweeping England 5-0, and I had to bring up that rap song from 15 years ago, but McCullum, the head coach, Stokes, the captain, and Rob Key, who's a part of ECB, they're going to be losing their jobs quite badly. And not just that is going to happen, but they will feel sick when they lose the job. Why? Because they turn English cricket into an absolute circus. But anyways, we'll talk about England as we carry along. The wicket at Perth Stadium was a typical one for fast bowlers alike, as 19 wickets fell on day one of the opening Ashes Test. England, who I find should have sent the Aussies in and took advantage of the pitch, let me tell you something, they made an absolute horror as what Nasser Hussain did in the 2002-03 Ashes by sending Australia in, and they were sent on a leather hunt. 23 years later, they opted to bat first on what was a bowler's friendly wicket and was skittled out for 172. And it's thanks largely to an incredible 7-for from Mitchell Starc, who turned out to have won the player of the match at the end of the 2-day test. His pace, the swing, and his wobble seam was simply unplayable, and it literally tore through the English batting aggressive lineup and left them with no answers whatsoever. And if that wasn't brilliant enough, Australia's reply was simply equal as well. They were very shaky. They were skittled out for 132 in their first innings as well. Only saved by what saved the Aussies from that disaster was that gritty lower order contribution. English captain Ben Stokes, who I predict would lose his job after the visitors get swept 5-0, he came out with an inspirational 5-for. bursting through in what was a short spell of brilliantness, and it showed the grit he has. And not just him alone. Jofra Archer coming back from injury, he bent his back. We'll talk about Archer later on. It was those two that saved England in the first innings, which helped them took a 40-run lead after the first innings, leaving the match significantly poised with England taking that first innings lead. The next day, chaos literally unleashed. That's because day 2, which was supposed to be the day for an English fight back with the bat, well, it all turned out to be the same suicidal mistakes committed from the first innings. The same nonsense happened in the second innings too. They were bundled out. They at one stage, beg your pardon, were 1 for 65. And afterwards, one of the wildest batting collapses in all of the history of Ashes cricket was witnessed, as their middle order, which was supposed to be the backbone for the English lineup, which was supposed to be the key, they all perished in thin light. They lost 4 wickets for just 11 runs in a quick catastrophic afternoon session that had so much drama. Or as what the late Jerry Springer used to do on Baggage, a whole lot of drama. Anyways, Scotty Boland, he was absolutely phenomenal. He was belted all over the park in the first innings. He came back with phenomenal figures. He took a 4-for, but the consistent pattern of soft dismissals and the wayward one-day strokes, which led to the English downfall under immense pressure, was indeed a deepening worry sign for the visitors, as they capitulated for 164, setting the Aussies a target of 205. What occurred afterwards was the end of the massacre, and who better not than Travis Head, who murdered the Indians a couple of years ago with the way how he played in that World Cup final. 2 years later, he sent the English to the crib. Let me tell you why. The way how he played, he turned Baz ball into trash ball, or should I say Travis Head ball, or whatever you call it, trap ball, as he came out to open the innings in the absence of the injured Usman Khawaja. Now remember in the first innings, the debutant Jake Weatherlund, he came out to open with Manish Labuschagne because Khawaja, with all sets of excuses, left the field before the end of the English innings and was forced to bat at number 4. And the way how Travis Head took the game away from the Bums single-handedly by the scruff of the neck was an epic jaw-dropping display of aggressive positive batting, smashing an English attack which had no answers all over the park to equal the 3rd fastest test century by an Australian batter in what was a truly unforgettable Ashes innings. The way how he attacked the English bowling attack, which had no answers, was one of the best things I've seen since his innings in the 2023 World Cup final in Ahmedabad against India, which I watched live on television. And let me tell you, if that was a masterclass from 2 years ago, this one was absolutely at the top of the charts. Turned a tricky chase into a lopsided performance. And even though the match did ended in less than 2 days, let me tell you all something. England themselves have a lot of questions and answers to ask themselves, because you telling me a few days ago I read an article on ESPN Cricket Info saying that most of the English players that took part in the first test aren't going to be a part of the warm-up game against the Prime Minister's 11, which will face the Lions. Excuse me. That is an utter disgrace. If the first test performance was a disaster, most of the players who should be playing in the warm-up game against the Prime Minister's 11 opted to back out just for golf. Same thing with Khawaja too. He played some golf tournament before the first test, and look what happened. He broke down with some back spasm. Keep in mind, this most likely is going to be his last test series, because there are a lot of openers who are waiting in the wings. And with Pat Cummins likely to return for the next test match, and most likely Josh Hazlewood is all but out for the next test and possibly for the remainder of the series once he doesn't recover, Australia, in my opinion, are in a rightful position to annihilate an English side that doesn't know how to play proper test cricket. The last time England played properly as a test playing nation was pre-Baz Bowl, when they used to play old-fashioned cricket. Now with the way how they're playing rubbish, there's no way that they'll bounce back. I don't care how much golf they play, they are not going to fight back. They're going to collapse and get a whole ton of backlash. Now the next test, which is at the Gabba, which normally hosts the first test of Aussie summer, is a few weeks away. And mark my words, the annihilation is going to continue and get stinking worse for England. I think if England want to bounce back in this series, Captain Ben Stokes and Coach Brendan McCullum must take full accountability and rethink the way how they approach with their style of batting, because this style of aggressive batting is not going to work whether it's in Australia or in South Africa, even in New Zealand. It isn't going to work. And mind you, remember when they tried this same style of aggressive play in Pakistan a year ago, they faltered to Numan Ali and Sajid Khan. The same thing is happening to the big boys in Stark and Cummings and Boland. And this other guy who made his debut to Dargett, he's going to have a massive role to play later on in the series once Josh Hazelwood doesn't recover fully. So overall, England, you're going down. Okay folks, by now you all know that the ICC Men's T20 World Cup schedule has officially been released since earlier today. So here's what we know. There are 8 venues where all the matches will be taking place, 5 in India and 3 in Sri Lanka. And just like with the last Men's T20 World Cup in the Caribbean and the United States of America, there'll be 20 teams divided into 4 groups of 5, with the top 2 teams qualifying for the super phase after the conclusion of the league phase. And just like with the Super 8s, there'll be 8 teams divided into 2 groups of 4, where the top 2 teams from the Super 8s qualify for the semi-final, in which will be played on the 4th and 5th of March 2026 in Colombo and Mumbai, with the final to be played on the 8th of March either in Colombo or Ahmedabad. Why I said either Colombo or Ahmedabad is because due to the current security situation, all Pakistani sports teams are banned from traveling to India by their government, which means Pakistan have to play all of their games at a neutral venue in Sri Lanka, just like what India did in the last ICC Champions Trophy, where they played all of their games in the United Arab Emirates, the Dubai International Cricket Stadium. So here's what we also know as well. The opening day of the Men's T20 World Cup will see a triple header for the first time, as Pakistan and the Netherlands will be the first teams in action at the Sinhalese Sports Club in Colombo, followed by West Indies facing off against Bangladesh across in India, and the triple header culminates with co-hosts India playing the United States of America at the Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Why I said India will play in the US is because if you watch the last Men's T20 World Cup, the US, alongside eventual winners India, qualified for the Super 8s, which also meant that the US secured automatical qualification for this tournament in India and Sri Lanka, meaning that they didn't have to go through the American qualifiers to get to the World Cup. As reported by numerous sources within the last few days, India and Pakistan have been grouped together in Group A alongside the US, Netherlands and Namibia, which will be the first group. Then comes Group B, which sees Sri Lanka, Australia and Ireland placed alongside Oman and Zimbabwe. England, West Indies and Bangladesh have been placed in Group C, with Nepal and newcomers Italy, who mind you edged out Jersey and Scotland to make the showpiece event. And Group D rounds off with New Zealand, South Africa and Afghanistan being in Group D, with Canada and the United Arab Emirates. I want to share a couple of very important takes very quickly. With all the trouble that has been transpiring with India and Pakistan within the last several months on the political hustlings, I do not think it'll be the right time, or in my opinion, this is not the time for ICC to have them playing each other in an ICC event, or worse, being in the same group. And here's why. If you look firstly, in the last couple of ICC men's T20 World Cups, India and Pakistan have been playing each other over and over, and most of the times the matches have happened to be one-sided or close. Secondly, since 2021 till the last T20 World Cup in 2024, the organizers have had England and Australia in the same group. This time around, they broke up Australia and England by placing them in two separate groups. Why can't the same be applied for India and Pakistan? I don't know why. And I don't care if it's about big money or revenue. Firstly, India and Pakistan are not on good terms on the political wise. One. Two, both teams are not even shaking hands with one another. It's been happening since the Asia Cup, and just recently it's been happening in the women's game, and now recently in the Emerging Asia Cup, in which Pakistan won for a record third time. With all what has been happening in the political hustlings, the ICC have committed a big mistake by placing India and Pakistan in the same group once again. And if I was the ICC chairman or one of the organizers for a World Cup event, I would not place India and Pakistan in the same group. For this instance, if I was ICC, I would have Pakistan in the same group with Australia and the three others, and have the two co-hosts in the same group. And that would have made better sense in any ways, and it would have set the platform better for a World Cup. Overall, regarding seeing West Indies in the same group with England and Bangladesh, beg your pardon, I'm not too surprised, because we have seen lately how unpredictable these three teams have been. And I did mention they have been unpredictable for quite some time in the T20 format. Just back in June, England massacred West Indies in the UK 3-0, and just a few months later in Bangladesh, the West Indies swept the home team 3-0. And do not write off Bangladesh, folks, because they have been playing solid T20 cricket within the last year or so, and have been building a team for the T20 format for the future, since moving on from the likes of Shakib Al Hasan, Mahmudullah, Riyad, etc. since the last World Cup. And they're focusing on the future. They don't have time for all of the shit that's been happening off the field. Keep in mind, the recent series they played against the West Indies and the Asia Cup, there have been a couple of flaws, but I will not discuss them in this video. Most likely I will discuss them near World Cup time. But for now, if you look at all of the groups, in my opinion, groups A, C, and D are the groups of death. Keep in mind, the next T20 World Cup is going to be played on flat Indian wickets and slow Sri Lankan pitches. That's all I have to say with regards to the World Cup. This is Tyrelle, Audain, aka the Cricket Rockstar, telling you all to always be good, be cool, stay frosty, and also see something, say something. That's what I would like to say. Till then, folks, this is Tyrelle, Audain, aka the Cricket Rockstar, signing out till next time. Bye bye for now.